Hey, what's up? Doing the UFC 305 predictions for Dricus DuPlessis versus Israel Adesanya. Recording this Monday afternoon. I've already placed all my bets, so I have nothing else to worry about for the rest of the week, aside from PFL, ACA, stuff like that. If you are curious, or and also Contender Series, but if you are curious about what I bet for those, feel free to just leave a comment or something, and I'll tell you exactly what I bet. But I don't really make videos for those because I just don't have the time. Anyway, we'll get right into it. First slides first. Here's the spreadsheet that I use. Maybe it's helpful for some of you, maybe it's not. But this is something that I use all the time, and feel free to pause and skim over it. First bet we are placing. So I think we're skipping the first two fights. The first bet, it's minus 1500. It is what it is. It's Tom Nolan. He's fighting Alex Reyes. I mean, this one's a lock. Everyone's picking Nolan. I don't think you'll find a single person in America or in the world picking Alex Reyes. The guy kind of sucks. He's an old man. And Nolan's 12 years younger. Basically has all KOs. Reyes just kind of gets chinned and knocked out in the first round. I mean, the guy's been like perpetually injured as well. Nolan should also be just way bigger, just a bigger framed. One thing about Nolan though is like he did get chinned by Nicholas Mota, which was a bad look, and that was when he was a big favorite as well. And then the other thing is like we're only doing the money line just so you have action on this fight. Again, minus 1500, 6% ROI, 6-7% ROI. Because even if most likely it's going to be a round one KO, but the odds for round one KO aren't even that good. It's minus 160. I think Nolan in the distance is minus 1,000. By KO's minus 600. So not really worth it. So just stick with the minus 1,500 or parlay it, or don't even bet it at all. Just so you have action on the fight so you don't, get bored. Moving on. We have Jack Jenkins versus Herbert Burns. So Jack Jenkins is also a huge favorite. He's minus 800. But the odds are a little bit better. The in the distance, it's minus 350 and not minus 1,000. The KO minus 225. And at least we're getting plus odds if we correctly bet the round one KO here. Some things we like. So Jack Jenkins, he's 6 years younger. Herbert Burns has also just been perpetually injured. The guy's the pure grappler. He has no striking. Jack has decent striking. Burns is just like he's also very chinny as well. He's been like constantly knocked out the last three fights. I think his last three fights he's been knocked out all in the second round. Let me double check that. Yeah, second round against Pineda, Algeo, and Erceg. But we are going the first round here, even though Jack Jenkins also doesn't get a lot of first round knockouts. I think he only has one, which was his second fight, and the rest are second round knockouts. So maybe round two or round three might be the way to go, but I just think Jack Jenkins is just way better than Herbert Burns. He's more well rounded. But we do have to be careful about Jenkins possibly getting subbed in the first round or something, because Herbert Burns does have very good jiu-jitsu. He is a fast starter. So as long as Jenkins can kind of put on the pressure early, he should take this very easily, in my opinion. Moving on, we have Josh Culibao versus Ricardo Ramos. And I think, for here, we just have the money line and Culibao winning by decision. Culibao, I just think he's a lot more well-rounded, right? He's the better striker. He can grapple. Ramos should be the better grappler, although we have seen him get subbed, by guillotine 2 times in a row in the first round. So, maybe not. I do think Ramos is like a good grappler, but it's just like the guy's kind of low IQ in my opinion. And one thing we have to be careful about Culibao is that he does get taken down and controlled. We've seen that in a few of his fights so far. But I mean, overall, I think Culibao has like a better resume. Ricardo Ramos, like he's got, I think 2 of his wins are by spinning back elbows. So those are kind of like Hail Mary throws, So, and I don't think he's going to catch Culibao with anything like that. And I just think Culibao is just, again, much, just a more well-rounded fighter. He's the safer pick here. Moving on, we have Valter Walker versus Junior Tafa. So the battle of 2 brothers who both kind of suck. Um, at least Walker here, we're gonna get him at plus money. I think he was actually minus money when I checked a week ago. Walker, he's a pretty big guy. He's 6'6", huge reach advantage as well. So he's gonna have 9 inches of reach, 3 inches of height. He is a little bit younger, but the age is about the same, just 1 year age difference. And I think the way Walker fights, like he's probably just gonna look to just wrestle Tafa. I mean, that is kind of the game plan in general. Although we've also seen Tafa have a huge weakness to leg kicks, in his last fight against Marcos Rogerio de Lima. But I don't really think Walker's gonna throw any leg kicks like that. And we've also seen like Junior Tafa just has no ground game. I mean, the guy gets taken down and he's kind of hopeless. He did fight. I think he fought Kamaru Usman's brother as well, and in his debut, and like, he just got taken down and laid and preyed on the entire time. And I think that's kind of Valter Walker's game plan here. I don't think the guy has any striking really. I think he's just a really big guy, and you look at the way he's winning his fights. It's like a lot of ground and pound KOs. So that's probably the method of victory here. So, we got the money line, and then, this is probably also going to go over 1.5, I would imagine. All right, moving on. We have the Leech versus Carlos Prates. And we're not picking a side for this one. I mean, I would probably lean Prates, but, the Leech is a very good veteran. He's a great gatekeeper. And, what we are going for here is the over 1.5 rounds. And kind of the rationale for that is the Leech just doesn't really get finished. He's been finished once very quickly, and that was against Chimaev. And Chimaev just took him down and subbed him real quick. And the Leech has one other submission loss, and that was in the 3rd round against Keita Nakamura 10 years ago. But, Prates isn't KOing, or he's not subbing anyone. I mean, Prates is on an 8-fight KO streak. The guy's very tall, very rangy and long. He's got good striking. But I also don't think he's the type of guy who's going to go out there and just KO a guy instantly. Not that he doesn't have first-round KOs. He just got a first-round KO against Charles Radke. But it's just the fighting style. He's not like a pressure forward guy looking to swing and bang and get his opponent out there as fast as possible. And the other thing is also, Leech is going to be the best striker he's ever faced. So for him, it's a huge step up, 100% for Prates. I mean, I do think he can take it. I do think he can win, but we're not picking a side here. We're just picking that the fight will go 7.5 minutes. Moving on, we have Rozenstruik versus Tai Tuivasa. And another fight, we're not picking a side. We are picking the under. To be honest, if I had to pick a side, I would probably pick Tuivasa in this one, at least at dog odds. But I think this is a good fight, especially for the under, because Ty's a guy who wants to go in there and swing and bang and just knock people out. Most of his fights are also, whether he wins or loses, they're usually under 1.5. And this is a great fight for Tuivasa because he's fighting a guy with 0 takedown threat. Jairzinho will gladly stand in there and swing with Tai Tuivasa. Now, I do think Rozenstruik is a bit more technical. He's not as there are exceptions like against Chris Daukaus, but he's not out there ready to just knock someone out instantly. He's not going to go in there like a Greg Hardy, for instance. But regardless, I do think that it's going to be a mostly stand-up fight, a lot of brawling. And Tuivasa's on a 4-fight skid here, 4-fight skid where he's got finished every fight. So I do think it's kind of desperation mode for him. It's now or never. He's got to go in there and at least make it entertaining, at the very least. So probably under 1.5. I think it's a decent spot, -200. It is what it is. Next fight we have the co-main event. All right, so we're almost through this. We have Steve Erceg versus Kai Kara France, and we have Steve Erceg money line, the over 2.5, and for him to win by decision. And honestly, I think Steve Erceg I think it's a little bit early to say he's the best flyweight in the world. I do think he probably beat Pantoja. At least, like, I think he's the better, like, overall fighter. You know, Pantoja did win the fight because he got a lot of control time, but I think Steve Erceg, great striking, very well rounded. He can scramble. He's got decent jujitsu. Decent, you know, the get up game can see some improvement. Versus Kai Car France here, he's going to have, you know, he is 2 years younger for what it's worth, but more importantly, he's going to have like a big height advantage. He's 4 inches taller. Kai's a pretty small flyweight. And honestly, I don't think Kai's really at that elite level. You know, every time he did get robbed against Amir Albazi, but just in general, I mean, the guy's lost to Moreno twice. He got subbed versus Roy Val. I mean, he lost versus Pantoja a long time ago on Tough. So every time he gets that elite step up in competition, I feel like he loses. And I mean, his best wins Cody Garbrandt, but that was when Cody was like on a huge losing streak. I mean, I guess he still is, kind of. And then he also kind of beat Askarov, like very 50-50. You know, so I kind of think Kai's like very overrated. He's kind of mid, honestly. And I just think Steve Erceg's just the better fighter. I think his striking super clean. I think if they're just striking the entire time, Erceg's just going to pick him apart because again, he is bigger, and I think you know, maybe there's a small speed advantage or something for Kai, but you know, we've also seen Kai get hurt. You know, he got hurt and knocked out against Brandon Moreno with a body kick, for instance. And also, I've also seen Kai struggle against Holly and Paiva. I mean, that's a long time ago, but I mean, Paiva's like not very elite either. Uh, so yeah, overall, I think Steve Erceg should win this. I got a money line over 2.5, and him winning by decision. All right, moving on, we have the final fight, the main event. Okay, so we have Dricus Duplessis versus Israel Adesanya. Only two bets. I have the money line and the over 1.5. I don't have the odds for the over 1.5 yet because they're not out. But if I had to guess, I mean the decision's plus 125. So the over 1.5 is probably, yeah, who knows? Who knows what it's going to be? You know, but regardless, you know, this is my bet for the or my side for this fight is Dricus. You know, I think he's just way stronger than Izzy. Honestly, I think Izzy's kind of overrated to be honest with you because he is very good. You know, he's like a future Hall of Famer or whatever. You could argue he's the best middleweight of all time, although I'd say that's definitely Anderson. But the thing is that Adesanya will go in there and just have these like shitty fights, like against Cannonier. The second Whitaker fight, he arguably lost. Romero, he arguably lost. Like even Vittori, that was a fight like he kind of dominated. He just did no damage. You know, like Adesanya's really only had maybe like three really good fights in the like three really good title fights, which I would say would be like Kelvin, and even that fight, like Kelvin was hurting him. But like yeah, maybe like the first Whitaker fight, the Costa fight, and then the second Pereira fight. You know, and then the rest of his fights, they're kind of mid performances, honestly. And then he's losing to Sean Strickland. He's losing to Blachowicz. I mean, I don't see why, like, if Blachowicz is going out there and like taking him down and everything, I don't see why Dricus can't do that. Dricus, he's got good takedowns. He's way stronger than him. He's 5 years younger. He's in the best shape of his life. I think Dricus is gonna beat Izzy up. To be honest with you, I don't necessarily have a method, but I do have. Well, we'll go to the next slide. So what I'm thinking is we'll start from bottom to top because we're talking about Dricus right now. So I actually don't hate Dricus by decision at plus 475. You know, like Dricus is mostly finishes, but we just saw him go a 5 round war with Sean Strickland, and he didn't slow down. He won the fifth round, if I recall correctly. And you know, Adesanya, he's also mostly decisions as well. You know, so I think the fight going to decision totally plausible, and I don't think it's like I think when Dricus fought Sean, Dricus's decision prop was like very high because everyone was under the assumption that, oh, it is a 50-50 fight, but Sean should be the one outpointing him and this and that. But we saw Dricus, he can go in there and he's got a good jab. He can strike with the best guys in the world. It is a little bit unorthodox, and I think if he did that for 25 minutes against Izzy, he'd be in trouble. But he mixes up his striking with the takedown, so I don't hate the decision prop at all. And I'll also say I was thinking Dricus by sub was a possibility because I just think he's like too strong on the ground. He's going to be way better than Izzy. But I do think Izzy's ground game is probably decent. He's also got a very large frame, so he can use his legs to get guard back or kick Dricus away. So and maybe on second thought, it will be kind of difficult for Dricus to secure maybe like a dart choke or something, or a guillotine. But yeah, the second bet that I kind of like here, and again, these are bets I'm not going to place. I'm just riffing right now. These are bets that kind of caught my eye. But second one, I don't mind Gamrot by sub. Gamrot's kind of steamed right now. If you look at the money line, it's minus 300. The decision's minus 150. But honestly, like Dan Hooker, he gets put in a lot of submission attempts. He got subbed by Makhachev. I think that might be his only submission loss. But Claudio Puelles was getting really good leg lock attempts on him. And you gotta go way back for this one. This is 2014. I remember Dan Hooker fought Ian Entwistle, and Ian Entwistle was getting some pretty good and deep heel hook attempts on Dan Hooker. And Gamrot's he's got great leg locks. He will go for leg locks if he has to. We've seen him hit the same Kimura that Dan Hooker got hit by Islam Makhachev, and Gamrot hit that against Jeremy Stevens. Gamrot's he's a great grappler. It's not just the wrestling. Like, he has submissions 100%. So it's definitely a possibility there. Another one I don't mind is Tuivasa, round one. Round one KO's 425, so you might as well go just round one in general. Not that he'll ever get a sub. But again, like I said with the previous breakdown, that Tuivasa is kind of fighting for his career here. 4-fight losing streak, fighting a guy he doesn't have to worry about when it comes to the ground game. I think Tuivasa can go in there a bit more comfortable. And we've seen Rozenstruik get knocked out against Francis, and the Volkov fight's a little strange, but he did get seriously hurt against Volkov regardless. Another one I don't mind is Carlos Prates by decision. I think he's going to go out there and probably outstrike the Leech and just pick him apart. But again, Leech, great striker. I don't think he's ever been KO'd, and definite step up in competition to Prates. And again, we already have the over 1.5, so it's definitely viable that the fight could go 15 minutes. Then we also have Valter Walker by decision. Don't hate that. Again, I was saying that I think Walker's path to victory is probably takedowns and lay and pray. And then again, we also have the over 1.5 already for that fight. This next one, I didn't talk about it because I didn't officially have a side, but I don't mind Luana Santos money line versus Casey O'Neill, because I don't think Luana Santos is like the best fighter ever or anything. Like, so far, she's 3 for 3 in the UFC, and she hasn't really fought like elite people or anything like that. She's just been fighting like Juliana Miller, Stephanie Egger, which is 50-50, and then Agapova. But it's really just fading Casey O'Neill. I think Casey O'Neill kind of sucks. I think she's unathletic. She doesn't have like any great qualities. She came into the UFC with a 4-fight winning streak, and her last 2 fights have just been like really disappointing and subpar. And I just think Luana Santos, she's younger than her. I think she's more physical, more attractive. So I would say, yeah, she'd probably beat Casey O'Neill. Not sure about the method. Probably a decision. It is like women's flyweight, but. And then the last one is something I already briefly touched on, is Tom Nolan, round 1 KO. It's minus 160. So I really don't like betting specific like round and method props if it's minus money. You know, so that's why I'm not touching this one. I'm only doing the money line at minus 1500 just so I can say I bet on this fight, you know. But anyway, I think that's it. I don't have any more slides. Yep, that's it. So yeah, hopefully we do better this week than we did last week, but you know, you never know. There's always a possibility for another disaster, but also the possibility to turn everything around. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.